Have you ever worked in an organization in which you felt undervalued, disrespected, and your opinions ignored? Then you were likely in an organization with a toxic work culture. In this lesson on understanding organizational culture, we will look at the characteristics of different cultures, and what leaders need to learn, to start shaping and improving the work environment for their people. Over the past 2 decades, several management writers have concluded that the culture of an organization is just as important as the structure, and has to be logically assessed and analyzed, if the organization is to compete successfully in the modern marketplace. In this unit, we will look at some of the key concepts in organizational culture theory, and its influence in leadership practice. Corporate culture is defined by many writers as being the way we do things around here. It is manifested in the rituals of an organization, in its people, dress, habits, working times and styles, attitudes, office layout, almost every intangible aspect of its being. It is also perpetuated by stories, office gossip, heroes and heroines, decor, social life, and the language that various parts of the organization regularly use at work. Employees of Twitter can't stop raving about the company's culture. Rooftop meetings, friendly co-workers, and a team-oriented environment, in which each person is motivated by the company's goals, have inspired that praise. Employees of Twitter can also expect free meals at the San Francisco headquarters, along with yoga classes, and unlimited vacations for some. These and many other perks are not unheard of in the startup world. Workers also seem too excited about being part of a company that is doing something that matters in the world, and there is a sense that no one leaves until the work gets done. Corporate culture casts its influence over every part of a company, including its employees, its management, its customer relations, its marketing practices, advertising, and the quality of its services. Since corporate culture influences all activities within an organization, it can determine, ultimately, the organization's success or failure. Consequently, high-performance cultures are keenly sought after by many organizations. David Ulrich identified a number of practices that enhance employee emotional commitment and lead to organizational success, including vision. Employees want to find a vision or purpose in their work. Opportunity. Employees want the opportunity to learn, grow, advance, and become more skilled in their jobs. Impact. Employees enjoy working in an environment in which they can see the impact of their efforts. Community. Workplaces are a social environment, and employees tend to be more committed when they feel part of a team, and work with people with whom they feel connected. Communication. Well-informed people tend to become more committed. Entrepreneurship. Employees tend to be more committed when they have some degree of control over how they do their work. And finally, incentives. Money and rewards become stronger motivators when tied to specific goals. Culture defines accepted behavior. Of course, this behavior underpins the performance throughout the organization. That is what gets done and how it gets done. And this in turn reflects upon the organization's reputation. In basic terms, managing an organization's culture involves the management of the day-to-day messages that need to be conveyed through consistent and aligned behavior, systems, and symbols. There are 2 major schools of thought about corporate culture, both universally acknowledged and both very similar to one another. One was developed by Dale and Kennedy. The other is Charles Handy's version. One typology of organization culture that has received a lot of research attention is the organizational culture profile, in which culture is represented by 7 distinct values. According to the OCP framework, companies that have innovative cultures are flexible and adaptable, and experiment with new ideas. These companies are characterized by a flat hierarchy, in which titles and other status distinctions tend to be downplayed. Companies such as Apple, Genentech Incorporated, and Google encourage their employees to take risks by allowing engineers to devote 20% of their time to projects of their own choosing. In innovative cultures, management will tend to apply a participative approach to decision-making, and assign more authority and accountability to individuals to take decisions. Innovative cultures will typically assign authority and resources to teams, and give them a fair degree of autonomy. Also, in innovative cultures, managers will typically not micromanage their people, but will set specific targets and clarify expectations. Companies with aggressive cultures value competitiveness and outperforming competitors. By emphasizing this, they may fall short in the area of corporate social responsibility. For example, Microsoft Corporation is often identified as a company with an aggressive culture. The company has faced a number of antitrust lawsuits and disputes with competitors over the years. In aggressive companies, people may use language such as, "We will kill our competition." In the past, Microsoft executives often made statements such as, "We are going to cut off Netscape's air supply." Its aggressive culture was cited as a reason for getting into new legal troubles before old ones are resolved. In such cultures, managers may adapt an authoritarian approach to managing their people and expect compliance and meeting precise performance targets. This leadership style is not normally associated with innovativeness, although some organizations with aggressive cultures have also been known for the high levels of innovation. This means that managers need to empower teams and individuals with the resources and to take decisions. The OP framework describes outcome-oriented cultures as those that emphasize achievement, results, and action as important values. Outcome-oriented cultures hold employees as well as managers accountable for success and utilize systems that reward employee and group output. In these companies, it is more common to see rewards tied to performance indicators, as opposed to seniority or loyalty. Research indicates that organizations that have a performance-oriented culture tend to outperform companies that are lacking such culture. At the same time, some outcome-oriented companies may have such a high drive for outcomes and measurable performance objectives that they may suffer negative consequences. Companies over-rewarding employee performance, such as the Inman Corporation and WorldCom, experienced well-publicized business and ethical failures. When performance pressures lead to a culture where unethical behaviors become the norm, individuals see their peers as rivals, and short-term results are rewarded. The resulting unhealthy work environment serves as a liability. As with aggressive cultures, in outcomes-oriented cultures, managers may adapt an authoritarian approach to managing their people and expect compliance and meeting precise performance targets. However, this type of culture can also support creativity and innovation, although managers are likely to set precise deadlines and targets. This leadership style is not normally associated with innovativeness, although some organizations with aggressive cultures have also been known for the high levels of innovation. This means that managers need to empower teams and individuals with the resources and authority to take decisions. Stable cultures are predictable, rule-oriented, and bureaucratic. These organizations aim to coordinate and align individual effort for the greatest levels of efficiency. When the environment is stable and certain, these cultures may help the organization be effective by providing stable and constant levels of output. These cultures prevent quick action, and as a result may be a misfit to a changing and dynamic environment. Public sector institutions may be viewed as stable cultures. In static cultures, managers will be focused on ensuring continuing and security. Managers may adopt a laissez-faire approach to leadership, allowing employees a larger than normal degree of latitude in how they carry out their duties. Such an approach will need to be underpinned by clarity in terms of policies, procedures and job descriptions. Managers in such organizations are unlikely to micromanage, and more likely to rely on documentation and process controls to manage people. People-oriented cultures value fairness, supportiveness, and respect for individual rights. In these organizations, there is a greater emphasis on treating people with respect and dignity. One study of new employees in accounting companies found that employees, on average, stayed 14 months longer in co. Starbucks Corporation is an example of a people-oriented culture. The company pays employees above minimum wage, offers healthcare and tuition reimbursement benefits to its part-time as well as full-time employees, and has creative perks, such as weekly free coffee for all associates. As a result of these policies, the company benefits from a turnover rate lower than the industry average. The company is routinely ranked as one of the best places to work by Fortune magazine. In people-oriented cultures, managers will be focused on promoting harmony and cohesion. Managers are likely to apply a combination of democratic and authoritarian leadership styles to motivate and engage their people. Managers will typically consult their employees about team plans and the work routine, and will seek to empower team leaders and other staff to take decisions and make suggestions for improvement. In such cultures, the manager's role will require a keen focus on motivation and finding new ways to engage, recognize and excite the team. Companies with team-oriented cultures are collaborative and emphasize cooperation among employees. For example, Southwest Airlines Company facilitates a team-oriented culture by cross-training its employees so that they are capable of helping each other when needed. Employees participate in twice-daily meetings named morning overview meetings and daily afternoon discussions, where they collaborate to understand sources of problems and determine future courses of action. In Southwest's selection system, applicants who are not viewed as team players are not hired as employees. In team-oriented cultures, managers will be focused on promoting the capabilities and strengths of the teams that report to them. Again, managers are likely to apply a combination of democratic and authoritarian leadership styles to motivate and engage their people. However, in such cultures, emphasis will be placed on team decision-making and supporting the team through continuous communication and the provision of resources and support to get the job done. In such cultures, the manager's role is very much a facilitator, rather than supervision. Organizations with detail-oriented cultures are characterized in the OCP framework as emphasizing precision and paying attention to details. Such a culture gives a competitive advantage to companies in the hospitality industry by helping them differentiate themselves from others. For example, the Ritz-Carlton Company Group keep records of all customer requests, such as which newspaper the guest prefers, or what type of pillow the customer uses. McDonald's Corporation is another company that specifies in detail how employees should perform their jobs by including photos of exactly how French fries and hamburgers should look when prepared properly. In detail-oriented cultures, managers will be focused on process and systems capability. Managers will be expected to provide clearly defined goals, targets, procedures and processes to help people do their work, and they will similarly expect employee compliance with these management systems. A relatively high level of control will be required in such cultures, with some degree of micromanagement. A combined authoritarian and coaching leadership style is probably most common in such cultures. So, why does culture matter to your organization? We all know subconsciously that culture matters, because we experience its effects on performance every day. Here are two examples of how we experience culture. Look at this example. What's the cultural message? Firstly, rules aren't followed. Secondly, training is inadequate. Thirdly, there's no feedback loop to inform decision makers. Here is a second example. What's the cultural message here? Facility. Everyone feels like they make a difference. Secondly, people work well in teams. And finally, everyone understands what they need to do to achieve success for the company. We can see from these two examples that the culture will make or break any strategy, system, or structure your organization has in place. Managers, as with other staff members, will be affected by the prevailing culture of the organization. Cultures which are aggressive, stable and detail-oriented may prove demotivating places to work. Cultures where managers are not given the freedom and authority to challenge the status quo, or where they are discouraged from empowering their people, will have difficulties attracting and retaining good leaders. The downstream impact of demotivated managers will be demotivated staff, and potential declining productivity, and overall viability of the organization. Due to the power relationship between staff, managers and leaders, the culture of the organization can influence this relationship. The role of the manager is to ensure work is performed effectively and efficiently. Methods adopted by managers should help others to carry out tasks without causing a negative reaction, take time to develop. To secure a positive work culture, an organization needs to influence and develop its managers to adopt behaviors that persuade employees to undertake tasks in a positive and empowering way. In the healthcare sector, research has shown that job satisfaction has been associated with nurses who perceive their managers as supportive and caring. A supportive manager shares values, believes in a balance of power, and provides opportunities for open dialogue with nurses, which in turn reduces the chances of internal conflicts. This type of leader is supportive and responsive to clinical nurses, thereby preserving power and status within the hospital system. Such leaders are valued, and have executive power to do what they see as necessary to create a positive environment for nursing. Accordingly, they have a measurable effect on the morale and job satisfaction of nurses. Culture can also profoundly impact the ethical behavior of managers and staff. In aggressive and results-oriented cultures, the temptation to bend the rules and to resist openness and disclosure can be very damaging. The damage of unethical behavior can be felt in the external community, but also be keenly felt amongst employees. Employees need to trust their leaders if they are to commit to the organization's objectives. Therefore, the values espoused by the organization need to be visibly displayed and committed to by the organization's leadership. In short, leaders need to walk the talk. Culture can be understood in terms of 7 different culture dimensions, depending on what is most emphasized within the organization. For example, innovative cultures are flexible and adaptable, and they experiment with new ideas, while stable cultures are predictable, rule-oriented, and bureaucratic. Strong cultures can be an asset or a liability for an organization, but can be challenging to change. The culture of an organization will also have an impact on the style of leadership applied by the organization's managers. Taking stock of your organization's culture will help you consider how best to approach innovation and improvement within your own area of responsibility. There are a number of activities to complete for this unit. Take the time to complete these in your manual. In this way, you will better learn from and retain the knowledge covered in this unit. Many thanks for your time. Want to learn more? Go to one of our websites to view our many courses on leadership.